Thank you for joining us for the only televised debate between the candidates for the office of mayor in the borough of Naugatuck. The election will be held on Monday, May 2nd. I'm Larry Rifkin, the moderator of this debate for Valley Cablevision and the Naugatuck Daily News. First, let me introduce the two candidates for mayor. They are the incumbent Mayor William Rado, the Democrat, who has held that post for 5 consecutive two-year terms, and Clarence Schiller, the Republican, who has been a member of the borough's Board of Burgesses for the last 12 years. Now let's meet the representatives from the news media who will question the two candidates. They are Severino Rinaldi, the city editor for the Naugatuck Daily News, Tom Hennick, the executive editor of the Naugatuck Daily News, and Janet Hennick, who is the editorial writer for that newspaper. Now to the ground rules. Prior to the telecast, we flipped 2 coins. The first gave the winner the chance to determine when he would make his 3-minute opening statement and his closing remarks, which will be 2 minutes in duration. Mr. Schiller won the toss and has elected to make the final opening statement and the final closing remarks. The second coin toss was to determine who would respond first to a question from our panelists. That toss, too, was won by Mr. Schiller, and he will have the chance to respond first to the opening question. The candidates will have 2 minutes in which to respond to each panelist's question. We hope that this format allows for a lively discussion of the issues which affect the people of Naugatuck. We begin now with Mr. Rado's 3-minute opening statement.
Thank you, Larry. Panel, I take this opportunity to thank the Naugatuck Daily News, Valley Cable, for the opportunity to let our taxpayers and citizens know what's going on in our town for the past 43 years that I have served. 3 minutes seems hardly enough for someone with 43 years of experience in public office. In addition to the 10 years that I've served as mayor, I've served 33 years in other capacities. Most important, the Board of Finance, the Board of Education, City Assessor, and most every major office in the borough of Naugatuck. Since I don't have too much time to enumerate the accomplishments during the past 43 years, I will start on the most important issue that affects everybody at all times, no matter where you live, and that's taxes. I'm happy to report that Naugatuck is in a good, sound fiscal condition, something many communities, our state and nation, can't brag about. Why are we in such a good condition? I feel that because of my experience and because of many, many factors which causes a town to prosper, such as growth, credit rating, industrial growth, population growth, many, many factors such as that. In Naugatuck, we have a AAA credit rating. We have, and which causes us to reinvest our funds and get a lot more dollars back. For example, during the past 10 years, we've gotten $7,900,000 through reinvestment of funds, compared to the previous 10 years where they got $590,000, an average of $59,000 versus $790,000. We have gotten many grants through know-how, where to get them. Our grand list, for example, which is your taxable property, has tripled from $100 million to approximately $300 million. What that means, the people will only pay 1/3 of what they would ordinarily be paying if the grand list didn't grow. I think the last population will show, census will show that Naugatuck gained 16.2%. I believe, according to the Connecticut Public Expenditures Council, that there's 148 towns in the state of Connecticut that are paying more property taxes than Naugatuck.
Okay, now thank you very much, Mayor Rado. We go now to the opening statement by Clarence Schiller, the Republican candidate for mayor in Naugatuck.
Thank you, Larry. I'd like to thank Naugatuck Daily News and Valley Cablevision for sponsoring this evening's event. Besides being a Burgess for 12 years, I've been chairman of the Wetlands Commission for 5 years and a member since its inception in 1975. I've also been president of the Emmanuel Lutheran Church Council and a member of that council for a number of years. I was president of the Pond Hill Community Club and also a board member of the community club during its existence. My local activities included coaching in Little Pal League, Naugatuck Junior Football League, and the Union City Little League. I was also a treasurer and a commissioner of the Naugatuck Junior Football League. I'm particularly interested in this campaign of bringing some facts out in the open. So at the beginning of the campaign, I had my people conduct a telephone poll. We contacted approximately 2,500 households. The order of importance of the response were the bridges, the schools, taxes, and public safety. On the bridges, the mayor has indicated that he tore them down, took full responsibility for demolition of the bridges. He did this without the full authority of the borough board. The borough board gave him permission to repair the bridges, do all road work repairs, and the next thing we knew, the bridges were being demolished. There is a difference between demolishing and repairing. We then found that the bond issue of $3.5 million was a question of not who was going to pay. It was only a question of how we were going to pay, and that was put through referendum. Lo and behold, that bond issue hasn't been enough to cover all flood repair work. We're presently up in over $4 million now. So that has been expended, and again, that added expenditure of $578,000 exceeded what was authorized by the bond or even through local statute and state statute. The fact that money was expended, work was completed prior to the budget. In the 1983-84 budget, there is $578,000 now to cover the work that was already done. As it pertains, I'll take taxes as it pertains to the bridge work. There's also in the 1983-84 tax list on the revenue side provisions for $1 million in funding for flood repair work. Right now, I believe we've received somewhere around $290,000 for flood repair work. That's far short of the $1 million that is anticipated. Should this not develop, that would mean in the neighborhood of $3.5 million of taxes that the budget will be short. Schools have been an issue. I've been harping on schools. That is an issue. People have told me, keep on it. That is a problem. The Democratic people have gotten on my back to try to prevent me and hold it. But I just had to keep going with it. It is a problem. People are continuing to call me, and it's going to be an issue for the remainder of my campaign.
I'm sure we will discuss these issues in greater depth. You've heard the opening remarks from the candidates for mayor. We'll be back with our first question from our panelists in just a moment.
Good. We're alone. I want to show you a floor that looks beautiful, stays beautiful, and never needs a vinyl dressing to keep it shiny. Mannington JT88 with Never Wax Protection. Look for these fine floors wherever you see me. Here's where to buy them.
L&M Floor Covering, Main Street in Seymour.
Rivard Jewelers, Naugatuck's finest jeweler for 16 years, is happy to help you view your choices for mayor. We also want to help you make another important choice, a gift for your wife or mom on Mother's Day. May 8th is coming up fast. Rivard Jewelers makes this choice easy with Seiko and Pulsar watches from $49.95, 14-karat gold jewelry, and specially designed pendants at low prices. For excellence at affordable prices, visit Rivard Jewelers, 213 Church Street, Naugatuck.
We continue with our debate on Valley Cable Vision. For the office of mayor of the borough of Naugatuck, Mayor William Rado and his opponent, Republican Clarence Schiller. Our first question will be of Mr. Schiller, and it will be presented by Severino Rinaldi of the Naugatuck Daily News.
Okay, Mr. Schiller, you have said in your campaign literature that several local schools are physically unsafe.
Specifically, what schools are unsafe, how are they unsafe, and what would you do about it if you were elected mayor?
Thank you, sir. There are a number of schools that are unsafe. Broken windows, cracked windows present a problem. Some of these windows are cracked on interior doors, interior passageways. There are some roofs that are leaking, and with the acoustical tile become saturated with water, the possibility of falling. We had a similar accident in Waterbury just a few weeks back. It could be dangerous to the children. I had contacted the fire marshal, the possibility of some boilers being in poor shape or somewhat unsafe. The boilers have been inspected. There are 2 boilers that require re-inspection. At the past Board of Education meeting, the fire marshal appeared there with the mayor and the board, trying to convince the Board of Education. I think they did a fine job of convincing the board that the boilers are safe. However, a re-inspection does require some concern, and they're going to come back and re-inspect those. It also pointed out a fact that many of the boilers had poor maintenance, and that has to be improved.
Mr. Rado, your response to that question.
Yes, I really can't believe what my Republican opponent just said, because in September of 1978, my Republican opponent, along with the GOP town committee, voted not to support a referendum to repair all of our schools completely. I'm sure that the people, the residents, know that you just can't budget dollars to make everything perfect. Nothing is perfect, including your mayor or your opponent. However, we have made efforts. The Board of Education budget since I took over as mayor has gone up from $4 million to approximately $12 million. I initiated $100,000 each year to take care of these major repairs, in addition to budgeting more dollars in the school department's regular budget. For a person who did not attend one meeting in 22 years that I've known Clarence, I can't believe that he would make these suggestions. He never even attended the final budget hearing when we set the tax rate. He stood mute at the Board of Finance meeting when the Board of Education presented their budget. I just can't believe it. We have made an effort. I believe the fire marshal, the state fire marshal, the state police have all concluded that our schools are safe and they're being repaired in certain areas. You might have a broken window as I'm talking to you. That is vandalism, but we take care of it as fast as we can, and I think we've done a good job, and so is the Board of Education.
Thank you both, and we will now go on to a question from Tom Hennick. He'll address it first to Mayor Rado.
Mayor, along the lines of the same issue, your opponent has also questioned the quality of education provided by the local school system. Do you feel that the quality of education provided by the Naugatuck schools is substandard? If so, why, and what would you do about it?
It is not substandard. We have one of the best educational systems in the state of Connecticut, and it's been proven time and time again. Over 75% of our graduates go on to higher education. We have doctors, lawyers, any professionals, even the news media professionals have been educated right here in Naugatuck. I've been educated here in Naugatuck. My opponent's been educated here in Naugatuck. That is a fallacy. Some of the scores show up a little lower in Naugatuck because Naugatuck Board of Education has been honest in administering tests because they administer to all students, the low students, the in-betweens, the smarts. Some of our cities that got high grades did a little cheating by having the higher grade kids take the tests. We have good quality, a good indication why are people moving to Naugatuck. No one would move to Naugatuck if they knew we had a poor educational system. I'm proud of our system.
Mr. Schiller, your response to the same question.
Yes, I feel the test score grades have decreased because of the atmosphere caused by poor maintenance at the schools. I have a commitment to education, and contrary to what the mayor has said, I've always been interested in education for all children. I never felt as though I would want to go to the Board of Education because my daughter just was in the school system, and I felt that that would be unfair and be looking for favoritism and so forth. And knowing that politics of the borough of Naugatuck, I just never felt as comfortable going to a Board of Education meeting and discussing school issues. However, along with most taxpayers in the borough of Naugatuck and townspeople, I listened to what the mayor and the Board of Education had to say about a wonderful school system. It wasn't until I got involved in this campaign that I became aware of all the problems in the school system, as well as with maintenance, as well as test scores. But just last fall, all the Board of Education members, principally Democrats, were telling the townspeople how bad the school system was and how badly they needed funds to improve the schools. And now today, I'm being criticized for what they said last fall, and that sort of coincides with people in Naugatuck are telling me right now.
We will move on now to Janet Hennick of the Naugatuck Daily News, who will ask the next question, directed first to Mr. Schiller.
Mr. Schiller, a key piece of Democratic strategy has been to state the fact that you, as a Burgess, have voted with Mayor Rado on issues 98% of the time. Is this true? If so, why have you voted in this manner?
I believe the 98% figure might be correct. I haven't looked at it and never kept score. However, I feel as though I was voting in the best interest of the taxpayers of the borough of Naugatuck. The mayor comes in, he presents a proposal for the Burgesses. We then form our opinion. It's somewhat unfair to be criticized for voting with the mayor at all times or that often, because the mayor is the one that gets up the agenda, and very often those items aren't on the agenda for any review prior to the meeting. So that is a disadvantage, because sometimes I have felt bad after a meeting, gone out and got some more information, or somebody has called me on something and asked why I voted in that manner. However, the 3 Republican Burgesses do vote prior to the mayor, so I would say that that is somewhat of a fallacy.
Okay, number one, I made an error. I believe it's a little higher than 98%, and he has voted with me consistently, 100%, on every budget to date except the one he didn't show up, the most important one that you have for the borough of Naugatuck. An agenda is set up by the mayor, that's correct. However, the Burgesses have all month to come in and suggest if they had any suggestions. We have never denied a Burgess an item to be put on the agenda. He has never requested one item on our agenda for the past 10 years that I've been mayor. He said that he votes first. They're my recommendations. And he just confirmed that he is being irresponsible by being criticized later for doing something he didn't want to do. No one put a gun to his head to say, vote this way. A good Burgess would say, look, I'm not aware of this, and ask for more meat to the question or whatever it was. I just don't believe that he is making such a statement. He certainly has confirmed one thing, that I'm doing a good job by voting with me. I thank you for that, Clarence.
We move on now to Sev Rinaldi, the city editor of the Naugatuck Daily News, and he will direct his question first to Mayor Rado.
Okay. Mayor, you have been criticized for tearing down 7 bridges in town following the flood last June. In light of the fact that the federal and state officials have thus far declined to give the town any reimbursement for the reconstruction of those bridges, do you regret your decision?
No, I'm happier.
And if you had to do it over again, would you do the same thing?
Positively. I did the right thing, and I did it based on the recommendations of 3 qualified engineers, one of whom does work for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as I'm talking to you. The federal and state did not turn me down. The state has recommended that they give us X amount of dollars for repairs. I'm willing to settle if the state and federal will give me the same amount of dollars that they spent on the Turkey Foot Bridge in Milford, $170 for repairs, times 7, $1,490,000. We made our bridges bigger, better, stronger. My main concern was our children, our adults. As you know, Rubber Avenue has grown. Trucks never used to travel there. Those bridges were over 60 years old. And number one, I did not tear them down. I don't even know how to mix cement. Out of those 7 bridges, 3 were already down in some areas. I'm happy. These past rainstorms that we've had, the people could go to sleep. Clarence and I live on top of the hill. We could always sleep well, not worrying about our cellars being flooded. Now the residents in the Bowman Street area, all the way to Cotton Hollow, Prospect, Fulham Mill, Long Meadow, we've gotten $1 million worth plus of extra work done on our brooks without a cost of 1 cent to our town. Thank God for the bridges. Thank God the people can go to sleep. Thank God for the safety of everybody.
Mr. Schiller, your response to the same question.
Yes, I won't dispute the qualifications of any engineers. However, the reports that I had indicated that there was only 2 to 3 lines in describing why the bridges should be torn down. I think there were very shoddy reports. I think it was a hasty decision on the mayor's part because he didn't check with federal and state officials as to what the requirements would be for applications for funding. The mayor mentioned Turkey Foot Bridge in Milford. That bridge happened to be a railroad bridge funded by the Department of Transportation for local trains. The brook stream restoration at the Brooks, that was basically from the Soils Conservation Department, which I was instrumental in asking the mayor to fund $500 per year with the Soils Conservation Department. And from that, we have received almost, I would say in the neighborhood of over $800,000 through the funding. So I can be criticized for that. However, the funding that the mayor is now talking about, a good part of it is the responsibility from my suggestion.
Thank you. Another question now from Tom Hennick, directed first to Clarence Schiller.
Clarence, you have said that the mayor acted hastily in tearing the bridges down. But what would you have done had you been mayor if you had received the same engineering reports that he received last June?
I would not have accepted the reports. I think for the amount of money that was involved, they were too sketchy and non-descriptive. I just would have had to go and find some additional engineering expertise on a local level or a state level to verify the engineering reports. I wouldn't take those reports and accept them as gospel. I would have gone to the state and federal officials to see if they were adequate and descriptive enough. And that's basically it. Then I wouldn't have gone and tore the bridges down without the permission of the borough board. And I am proposing a street commission that will act to prevent this type of a fiasco from developing again. I feel that the control for the streets, bridges, and so forth cannot be left to a mayor and a street superintendent. Number one, it's too much responsibility and it's too much power in too few hands.
Mayor Rado, your response?
I really don't believe what he's saying here. He's saying that after you have 3 qualified engineers, you wouldn't take their reports. Why hire them, number one? Number one, I think it should be made clear that those bridges were down before there was any criteria whatsoever. I was given the word of Congressman Moffitt, Ratchford, Governor O'Neill, and a member of the Department of Transportation that if we were ever declared a federal disaster area, that the money would be retroactive. Right now, Lowell Weicker, Dodd, Governor O'Neill, Sam Gadenson are trying to have them waive those requirements because we did the work quick. If I hadn't acted like we did, our bridges would be like they are in New Haven, Orange, Watertown, and other areas. Cost, just recently, Thomaston Avenue Bridge, 19 months and $2.5 million for one bridge. Incidentally, my Republican opponent here was appointed by me to, and he didn't want anyone else to go with him, to check over the way the process and prices was done, and he reported everything was in order. I just don't believe what he's telling me. I believe that, number one, the bridges needed it anyway. The fact that they've been hit, as you know, Rubber Avenue, where it's located, every time there's heavy rains, they take more debris and more beating than any bridges in the state of Connecticut. They're 60 years old, and to repair them, I would have the same thing that I had there before, and you know the growth on Rubber Avenue. We're going to widen those roads someday. The money we spent on those bridges is the best thing that ever happened to Naugatuck, because in the near future, you would have had to do it anyway. Plus the fact that they're stronger, wider, and they'll take care of everything. I think it's a great thing.
Janet Hennig, will you address your next question first to Mayor Rado?
Mayor Rado, you have been accused by members of the PEG, which stands for Pollution Extermination Group, of being insensitive to their fears for their health by not closing the Laurel Park landfill. How do you respond to that?
Well, I say, number one, I think the panel knows that I'm sensitive to everybody, not only PEG. I've had public hearing where approximately 300 people attended. I think 23 signed against it. I've asked them to meet with me, give me some documentation. I just can't go and arbitrarily close a landfill without being a lawsuit against the borough of Naugatuck into the millions of dollars. Because when I got to court and the judge says, tell me why you closed it, and I have no documentation. However, on the other hand, we have documentation that says they can't say the landfill did it. To me, it's just a political ploy, and the person who's made the most noise, claiming pollution in their water, they have the same city water that you and I have. It's nothing but politics. Isn't it rather odd that there's been no complaints in that area? The landfill's been there since 1921, for 62 years, and no one made a complaint until October of '81? You know, who's kidding who? I've been around 43 years, and this skin is so thick you can cut me with a knife. I don't bleed. Nobody's going to be kidding Bill Rado. I would close it immediately. That's one thing that my opponent agrees with me.
Mr. Schiller, do you?
I don't agree with him to the extent that it should be left open or anything in that nature. The thing that I agreed with was the fact that the dump is in a favorable location, I think, for controlling some of the leachate. The state apparently agrees with me because they are recommending curtain drains be installed so the leachate can be piped to the sewage treatment plant. If I was mayor, what I would have done is take and compiled all the information from the state tests that were made on the leachate, the well tests and that sort of thing, and have an active health officer who could coordinate and bring all of these things into a situation where it would be understandable by a layman. I also feel that this would be a very important official to have in Naugatuck, because then the townspeople would feel more comfortable with a local person than they would with strangers from the state level. I am not saying that we should close the dump. I feel that we should be looking to an alternative, which I believe the mayor has the sense to do. I would be talking with Southbury, I would be talking with Waterbury, who are talking about a recovery plant, and I think that is important. I don't think we can get ours on stream as quickly as Waterbury or Southbury. However, there's no reason why we shouldn't continue our exploration of developing and building a plant in Naugatuck as a resource recovery plant.
You're watching a debate between the candidates for the office of mayor in the borough of Naugatuck. Bill Rado and Clarence Schiller will be back, as well as our panelists, with more topics to discuss.
Realty World Satani Associates is a real estate company dedicated to providing complete professional service. Realty World Satani Associates has the Naugatuck Valley's largest selection of homes and condominiums, priced from the low 30s and offering mortgage rates as low as 12.5% fixed to qualified buyers. For the stable investment in changing times, call a Realty World professional, serving 10 communities locally, 50 states nationally, and you 7 days a week. Located at 774 New Haven Road, Naugatuck.
I'm Ed McMahon from Mannington Never Wax Floors. I'm going to tell you something you probably didn't know. A no-wax floor and a never-wax floor are not alike. Look at all these products made for no-wax floors. The Mannington Never Wax floor doesn't need any of them. It's got the exclusive JT88 wear layer. Get yourself a Mannington Never Wax floor. Mannington Never Wax. Here's where you can get them.
L&M Floor Covering in Seymour.
Spring is here, and Rivard Jewelers knows that it's time to find that perfect engagement ring. We make that choice easy. Rivard Jewelers has the complete line of art-carved diamond engagement rings starting as low as $100. You can afford a diamond. For Mother's Day or graduation, Rivard Jewelers has specially designed handmade pendants, diamond earrings, and a full line of 14-karat gold jewelry. Whatever the occasion, Rivard Jewelers is your first and only stop. 213 Church Street, Naugatuck.
This week at Valley Cable is the informative new series that lets you, the Valley Cable subscriber, know about all the changes taking place at Valley Cablevision. Watch it on Cable 10 Mondays through Fridays at 10:30 a.m. and 7 o'clock p.m. as Valley Cable management and guests answer your questions about